All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Let's jump straight in then, because you were both members of Looking Glass, which became Fallen Angel. Let's talk about how did Starz come about?
You want to start?
No, you go.
Okay. Well, Dube's actually, and he likes to be called Dube, not Joe. Just for the millions of people out there who are going to address him in the future.
If you know me, you call me Dube.
That's it. He was actually in the original Looking Glass, which was a band of 4 players. They were a Rutgers frat band, and they really weren't that good, but they got better.
Thanks.
And they got signed to Epic Records in like about 72, right?
Late 71, early 72.
Okay, and they did an album. They got signed by Clive Davis, Epic Records. They did an album that very soon after just died. They produced it themselves, and about 6 months after the record was dead, it sold 4 copies, 1 to each family. And about 6 months after the record died, a DJ from Washington D.C. started. Am I doing good? I wasn't there, so I know the legend. Started playing Brandy, and it went from a dead issue to a number 1 record. And if anybody out there knows how hard it is to even get a top 20 record, and to a top 10 record, a top 5 record, a number 2 record, but to get a number 1 record,
it was
nigh impossible.
It was number 1 around the world this week in 72.
Damn.
I wound up selling 3 million copies.
That's incredible. Congratulations, even all these years on.
Well, it took not until it was in the first Charlie's Angels movie did I earn a dime. That was in the year
and
2000.
Then, of course, it just got used in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, it was
it's
just
all about Brandy.
Right.
The story is Brandy.
So
right?
That's where I get my mailbox money from.
I've never seen it, but friends of mine tell me it's all about Brandy.
It is.
Yeah. So you want me to give you a quick
history?
Yeah.
So you lost your singer for Looking Glass.
He quit because he wrote Brandy and sang it. They did a second record, and
still without him.
Yeah, still without me. And Elliot Lurie was the guy who wrote and sang Brandy.
Okay.
And he thought, well, I'm the guy. I'm the star. I can do my own record, and I don't need these guys. So he quit and got his own record deal and did a record. But we did it. But they got, and because he was going to leave, they got me. They auditioned guitar players, and I passed the audition.
You got Brendan from the back of the Village Voice.
There we go. Actually from an ad on a rehearsal studio wall, but that's how it happened. And so we did a tour with Elliot and me in the band, and probably was 3 months or something like that, 3 or 4 months. Then Elliot left, and we didn't have a lead singer, and so I believe it was my idea. Because you guys were saying, we want to be a rock band, and we want to get people to stand up and cheer and demand
hard music.
Yeah, and demand encores. And I said, well, I think we should get a front man, like a Mick Jagger guy,
right.
And so we put ads in the Village Voice and showed all these guys show up, and after about the second or third day, Michael shows up. He's got a short haircut, Southern accent, powder blue shirt and tight pants, and he sat down with an acoustic guitar and sang "Cool One," and we all kind of looked at each other and went, "What else you got?" He sang "Rock This Town." He laughed. We said, "Thank you very much." We all looked at each other and said, "This is it, man. This is Elvis Presley. We just auditioned Elvis Presley. We got to get this guy." So we got him in the band, and then we functioned as Looking Glass for about a year. I'm just rounding errors. And we went out and gigged as Looking Glass. We traveled. We squeezed the last pennies out of the Looking Glass. And then we got some management that encouraged us to change our name. We changed our name to Fallen Angel.
Right.
We got signed again by Clive Davis. So Doobie got signed twice by
Clive.
Signed
twice
Davis.
by Clive.
Probably a unique achievement. Although Peter was in there too.
People can
say that. And we did an album for Arista Records that never came out. But 2 singles were released. They never did anything. And the deal was kind of dying. We could tell that their interest was kind of flagging. And right around that time, one of the manager guys somehow got hooked up with Bill O'Coin.
Right.
And Peter Sweevel, who's the bass player, also somehow knew through the social scene in New York, Sean Delaney. You know who Sean Delaney was. And so things just kind of melted together. And we thought, okay, we'll go with Bill O'Coin. And we were still Fallen Angels, but when Sean got involved with us, things started changing. You know, we dropped the keyboard player.
Right.
We got a second guitar player, which was Richie. We auditioned, and he had the cutest girlfriend, so we got him.
We got him out of the back of the Village Voice.
That's right. He's the cutest girlfriend. He could also play, and and we changed our name to Starz with a Z. And then we worked with Sean for several months, I'd say, at least several months, and developed a whole new thing. You know, a whole heavier, more, you know, jump off the stage kind of thing. And in that interim, we did a demo with Jack Douglas. Jack did the demo, right? Bill shopped it. He got offers from a bunch of labels. He picked, I guess, Capitol wanted to give us the most money, and that's how Starz began. We went back to Jack, did our first record, and there you go.
So Sean Delaney, obviously very creative guy.
Great guy.
You know, incredible in terms of what he did for Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
He basically did their show.
That's
Before him, there was no Kiss show afterwards. What did he do specifically for you guys, creativity?
Well, he showed up at rehearsal every day and just kicked our ass. You know?
Right.
He told us we needed to look a little different. Like I had a beard and long hippie hair.
Mm-hmm.
Said, man, you're so good looking. You need to like take advantage of that.
Right.
You know, so he got me a haircut. He got me some clothes. You know, got us all black leather jackets. I mean, started spending some money, some Kiss money.
So
on us.
image and moves and being rock and roll.
It's not that we didn't want that, but we just didn't know how to do it.
You needed someone to help you?
And Sean was probably the best guy in the world to figure out how to do that, you know? And he loved us, and we thought, yeah, this guy's like, he's the sixth Starz, you know? And he really was, man. He traveled with us. He really, we went to bat for us everywhere. I felt like that guy would take a bullet for any one of us, you know? Fantastic person, and what he did really worked, because even though we couldn't understand it at the time while we were doing it, you really can't. You don't know it. Things are happening a million miles an hour in the rock and roll world. In retrospect, you can look back on it and go, well, no kidding. You know? But it took somebody from outside the band to see that, to look at these group of five guys and make them a unit that made sense commercially in the world. It was easy to understand what we were.
Rather than watching a band, rather than five individuals.
That's right.
He was a disinterested, interested party, where Sean would be able to stand there and look at us and see what was good and what needed improvement.
Right.
As well as he made musical suggestions, he made theatrical suggestions, and he knew where to push and what to say and how to just like ramp it up.
He knew when he fought for his ideas. You know, because like a genius is a guy that just convinces everybody else that they're right and that their idea is right. And he would fight for his ideas. He wouldn't give up until everybody else just said, okay, just go ahead. I don't care anymore.
Right.
Just to shut him up.
I have an interesting thing that I heard. You tell me if you've ever heard this, Dube, that Kiss kind of kicked Sean to the curb after a while.
Yep.
And that he got involved. He wanted to have another band that he could make as big or bigger than Kiss to show them that, hey, it wasn't all you guys, you know, it wasn't 100% just you guys. You needed my help. And it's unfortunate that we didn't become as big as them, because that would have, you know, made Sean, that would have really been great for Sean. And so it was a disappointment for him as much as it was for us that it never happened in a gigantic way. But we have a legacy, and Sean is an equal part of that legacy as the five guys in the band.
Just as much as he should have been up on stage with Kiss in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. From my conversations with him, he felt discarded.
He knew he wasn't the guy to do that, but he was the guy to be able to be that catalyst.
He didn't need to be the star. He wanted to see people up on stage that represented his beliefs in what they were doing.
What Sean did with them, he then took and did with us.
Right.
Yeah. And it worked. It just, you know, certain political things, certain choice, you know, the choice of the record company, people have criticized, and, you know, just things happen.
It's
and
business, it's rock and roll.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, if you have a song like Cherry Baby, which, you know, I didn't know it at the time, it seemed pretty commercial, but when you have a song like that, and it stalls at number 22, you just think, what more can I do? You know, like, how can I make anything that's more in the marketplace but heavy and still conforms to the true identity
playable,
of the band? It's pretty debilitating, you know. I mean, you start getting a little cuckoo behind it, like, you know, you wonder what you can do. How can I do better than that?
You certainly have the producer. Your first 2 albums were produced by Jack Douglas. I mean, you can't do better than that in that time period.
Yeah,
how did he get involved with you? What do you remember about being able to retain Jack Douglas?
Jack? Well, I think Alan Miller, who was the manager that went with O'Coin, I think he knew Jack. And I wouldn't doubt that Bill probably knew Jack.
Well, Alan Miller was hooked in with Bob Ezrin, if I recall correctly. So, and Jack was in that area.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
Who
something
knows?
like that. Yeah, that might be. I mean, we're not talking. Wasn't there a guy named Alan? Somebody that was an orchestrator for. Wasn't that guy that was a string writer? I think you might be talking about that guy. But Alan Miller was the guy who was a manager for us before O'Coin, that went with O'Coin and got us with him. So, anyway, I mean, I just heard one day, hey, how would you guys like Jack Douglas to produce you? And I didn't know who he was from Adam, but Richie did. Said, man, he produced Get Your Wings. And I thought, what's Get Your Wings? I mean, I never was in the hard rock thing,
right.
You know. And but Richie knew all about
it. He knew exactly who Jack was, and he wanted him.
But somebody said, well, he had something to do with Who's Next, and you know, I don't know whether he really did or that's a story. But as soon as somebody told me that, I thought, well, shit, man, if he can make Who's Next with us, I'll go there every day of the week. You know?
Absolutely.
So and he was great to work with right off the bat. You know, great ideas. Great vibe, you know, got us the right situation, got things to sound really good, and no stress. I mean, we did the first album in 3 weeks from start to finish. It was mixed. It was from the first day to the last. It was 3 weeks. I mean, that's light speed.
Yep.
Compared to even then, it was fast.
It came in fully cooked.
Yeah.
Well, you'd had your whole lives basically to write that album,
right.
so
That's
it
right.
road tested, refined, arranged, bang, you go in, you lay it down.
Yeah,
Violation wasn't quite that easy.
And we did that with Sean.
That's right.
Sean was an absolute participant in getting that first album ready to go.
Right, and has some co-write credits on some of those songs, and even some co-write credits on some Violation songs.
Jesus.
Yeah, turn it up.
What?
Yeah.
So, obviously, you're signed with O'Coin Management, so you're in the KISS gravity well. You've got Sean Delaney helping you. This is, I guess, specifically for you, Joe, because you're flipping through the vault book there. And
see where I was.
Yeah, you're on there. You're in there. You got 3 mentions for Eat Your Heart Out, I Know Who You Are, drumming with Gene Simmons on demo sessions. You know, how did Gene come to you and start having you work with him as he's laying down ideas? He was notorious for just getting an idea, going in, cutting it. How did he approach you?
Well, you know, I knew Gene long before I ever saw him play. I always saw him around the office, and we just hang around and shoot the shit and go out to lunch and stuff like that. But he also saw Starz play, and he knew that I could play.
Right.
And so that when he had an idea, he would just call me up and said, I got some studio time at Electric Ladyland, come on down. I remember one time it was about midnight, I was buck naked, had 1 foot in bed, the phone rings, it's Gene. He says, come on down, I got the music, I got the studio. So, okay. Put my pants back on, got in the car, drove into New York, and recorded with him till dawn.
Absolutely.
And just did, it was just me and him in the studio. We just came up with, he had stuff that he wanted to play on the tape, and it was just me and him making it up as we went along. And then he used that to refine how his songs were structured, and then he would maybe play it as a demo for the rest of the guys and go on from there.
So I'm going to ask you straight up a question that's been bothering me. There's always been a rumor in the KISS Army about Peter Criss not drumming on the Alive 2 side, the studio tracks that he did, Larger Than Life, Rocket Ride, all that stuff. Did you ever ghost? Were you ever the Dick Wagner on drums? Dick obviously did session work in place of Ace, and that's well known.
Doobie signed a non-disclosure agreement about that.
I have to ask my attorney, Michael Cohen, on that.
That's right.
So we'll find out from Michael on CNN later.
Yeah, Michael Cohen will tell you that one after he gets out of jail.
Well, Robert Mueller investigates the history of KISS.
We wouldn't want there to be a violation.
But I think there are some other players on some things. I think Andy Newmark might have played on a couple of things.
I've been told as well that I did wind some of the sessions that I did with Stanley, may have used some of that stuff.
Right.
I don't know.
And that's not to disrespect Peter
Oh,
in any
absolutely
way,
not.
because it's business.
No, I can't. You didn't hear it from me. Peter and I both had the same influence of Gene Krupa.
Right.
We both cite Gene as a primary influence of how we play. I met Gene when I was 13 years old. My two influences are Gene Krupa and Keith Moon, both of whom I met.
Right.
I met them both.
So in terms of Starz and the career that you guys had, 4 albums in the classic era,
Right.
why did Starz not make it, in your opinion? What was missing? Was it just that it's music and something didn't happen? Or did you not get the support of a label? Did you not get on the right tours, do you think?
Well, I was there at the end. Brendan had moved on before that. But I think when we got done with the tours for Coliseum Rock, we sat back and we looked for a minute, and we wound up in Los Angeles. And there was a lot of, I don't know, this is a technical term, there's a lot of mishigas going on in between the band and O'Coin and Capitol and everything, and it was just swirling all over the place. And at that, what wound up happening is we imploded.
Right.
What we should have done is taken 6 months off instead of not breaking up, but simply just say, all right, I'm going to go home for a while and I'll call you in a half a year. That would have been smarter, but instead we all said, fuck this, I'm out of here, and that was it. So we imploded instead of maybe just taking a break, and that would have, I think, been a smarter thing to do, because it's rock and roll is a war of attrition.
Yep.
He who lasts the longest wins. And now, if we had simply stayed together, I think we probably would have still been around doing it big time.
Awesome. So let's get you guys back on schedule.
Okay, yeah.
We'll call that one here.
And then we're going to head up to the stage and do a little.
As you wish. This was a treat for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for your time today.
Buddy. Appreciate it.
That was very cool. Very cool.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.